The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
When we last met, we discussed the perils of feminist marketing in movies today. We talked about Ghostbusters 2016 and how it flopped. We talked about Terminator Dark Fate and how it flopped. And we even talked about Charlie's Angels and how it flopped. Now we get to talk about Birds of Prey and how it flopped. The numbers are in and Birds of Prey is a big failure. So big, in fact, that they're calling it the worst opening of the DCEU ever. Yeesh. Let's see what they're saying. Birds of Prey disappoints with the worst opening of DC's extended universe. Birds of Prey's debut at the box office wasn't exactly fantabulous. The DC Comics film, an R-rated spin-off of the 2016 Suicide Squad, centered around Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. It took in $33 million in North America this weekend, coming under the expectations per The Hollywood Reporter. Tracking previously suggested Birds of Prey would make around $50 million, if not more, in its debut. When it comes to the current universe of interconnected DC films that began with 2013's Man of Steel, this is easily the lowest opening of the series, coming in below the $53 million start for Shazam in 2019. Although Birds of Prey was rated R unlike the rest of the DC universe. This didn't stop Deadpool from opening to $132 million in February of 2016, nor did it stop DC's Jokers from opening to $96 million last October. So why did Birds of Prey disappoint? Although the film received positive reviews, some speculate its close relationship with the poorly received Suicide Squad kept audiences from turning out, although that film did perform well at the box office, with a worldwide gross of $746 million. Others blame the title itself, suggesting Harley Quinn's name should have been more prominent. Its full title is Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Since the box office failure of Justice League, DC has been taking more of a movie-at-a-time approach to its cinematic universe. But Harley Quinn is set to return in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, which will feature a mix of old characters from the 2016 film and new ones with Will Smith's Deadshot not returning. If audiences weren't interested in a Harley Quinn spinoff, could that movie also be in trouble? For now, DC's next superhero film looks like a safe box office hit. Wonder Woman 1984, which hits theaters in June. I think it's vital to remember that Joker, an R-rated film based off a DC character, made $1 billion at the box office. And Deadpool had 2 R-rated films that crossed $780 million each. R-rated comic book films are big business these days. It makes me wish Disney had the balls to make Blade R-rated and feature Wesley Snipes, and that's a tangent for another day. But Blade was the first black-led Marvel film. Suck it, Black Panther. Birds of Prey was one of those unique films that no one wanted, yet studios forced down our throats. It's not a property that's that well known. I mean, most people know Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series, where she looked like this. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at here. She looks like a neon hooker. She's Harley Quinn in name only, or Quino. No, that doesn't work. Harley Quinn is the only recognizable character in this film. If you polled 100 people on the street and listed off the characters in Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn is guaranteed to be the most recognizable, and even then, not this version. Birds of Prey is a film full of characters no one knows or cares about, and that's represented in the film's abysmal opening weekend. But what about Guardians of the Galaxy, you may ask? Yes, that's a film with unknown characters that was hugely successful and spawned a sub-franchise of its own. But, and this is a big but, J-Lo style, Guardians of the Galaxy had the luxury of being an MCU film, the strongest film branding in the history of cinema. It's the only reason Captain Marvel made all that money. This logo. Not this face. Fans were invested early on in the Avengers' struggle against Thanos because Marvel had a plan and stuck to it. DC, on the other hand, flung crap at the wall and waited around to see what stuck. Sadly for them, Birds of Prey wasn't a remnant of the stuff that stuck. It was a remnant of the darkest, and by dark I mean dumb, part of the DCEU. The DCEU had a rough start that it never really recovered from. Looking back, what's the number one thing most people remember from Man of Steel? What's the number one thing people remember about Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice?
Martha! Why did you say that name? Martha!
Yes, Martha. What about Suicide Squad? Ugh. Not really shining examples of quality comic book films. The early DCEU has mostly become a cinematic meme, little jokes with little substance that no one knows where or cares about the origin of the joke. You'd think DC would have learned its lesson after the success of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Joker. There was a time, last year actually, when we were all talking about DC finally surpassing Marvel in terms of comic book movie market share, and it was exciting. Now, that's ruined. The momentum of Joker has been killed. Now I get it, DCEU films don't cross over with Joker. I understand how the universe thing works, but it's all DC to me, and a strong DC means Marvel can't get away with more Captain Marvel. Narrative is the name of the game, and the narrative surrounding Birds of Prey was that of feminism and fun, because those two things go hand in hand, right? Well, they leaned a little too hard into that marketing tactic, and it didn't work. Let's go back to October of 2019 when Joker was about to be released. What was the narrative surrounding that film? Yeah, a much different story. The media challenged your morals for seeing it and then challenged your safety. Salon had this snippet that opened their Joker review. Joker is a movie that you will ignore at your own peril. Its fans will no doubt complain that its reviews focus on politics, but the movie's political implications are so explicit and intentional, despite the main character's last-minute protestations to the contrary, that ignoring them would be the film critic equivalent of dereliction of duty. If you're going to be a message picture, then your message defines your artistic merit. Is it a dangerous manifesto that could inspire incels to commit acts of violence, as some of its critics fear? An edgy character study teeming with social commentary, as director Todd Phillips and co-writer Scott Silver have seemed to have intended? Is it a dark comic book adventure like The Dark Knight, or a perverse ode to mentally ill social rejects like the Martin Scorsese classic Taxi Driver, and The King of Comedy, and The Dark Knight as well? The answer is yes to all of these questions, but explaining why is not so simple. Of course it's not simple, because the media doesn't want it to be. They want to paint certain types of movies as dangerous, because they're thought-provoking. They challenge you in the genre they're in. That's Joker. Birds of Prey is elevated because it represents modern feminist talking points in the marketing, the same views held by the reviewers. They build these talking points and prepare to die on the hill that is Birds of Prey. Then when the film fails to perform like gangbusters, they sneak away quickly before anyone realizes how full of shit their excuses are. Speaking of excuses, the king of them, Scott Mendelson, has 8 as to why Birds of Prey failed. Let's look at them and see 8 more reasons why Scott is wrong. 8 reasons why Birds of Prey failed to take flight. The folks who saw it and the critics who reviewed it generally liked it, but after around $33 million in its domestic weekend, the worst major DC launch since Jonah Hex and one of the lowest big comic book movie debuts in recent memory, Birds of Prey now needs uncommonly long legs or an overseas rescue to financially justify itself. After several films, Man of Steel, BVS, and Suicide Squad, which earned mixed to negative reviews while earning lots of money, Birds of Prey is stumbling despite strong reviews and despite essentially being exactly save for one big variable, what we all said WB and DC films should be doing. What went wrong with Margot Robbie's acclaimed and well-liked Harley Quinn spin-off adventure? Number 1, should Warner Brothers have waited a week? There was nothing objectively wrong with Warner Brothers releasing Birds of Prey the same weekend they found success with the Lego Movie in 2014 and Lego Batman in 2017, and Lionsgate's John Wick 2. Alas, the Academy Awards are tonight, 3 weeks earlier than usual, which meant a distraction for the press and moviegoers. President's Day weekend has been a safe home to unconventional comic book films since Daredevil in 2003, followed by Ghost Rider in 2007, Kingsman, Deadpool, Black Panther, and Alita Battle Angel. Warner Brothers was hoping Birds of Prey would open well, and then get a holiday weekend to buffer any post-debut drop, but it also positioned the film like a family-friendly attraction. The Academy Awards are a reason the film failed, Scott? No. All I see is people talking about skipping the political dreck known as the Oscars. How the hell is that valid? It's not like it's Super Bowl Sunday. The Oscars are a thing of the past. Hollywood can't keep its damn mouth shut, and their elitist attitudes have turned off viewers. Also, if Birds of Prey came out next weekend and still performed this way, Scott would have blamed Sonic the Hedgehog. It's always an excuse. Warner Brothers should have titled it Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. I used to half joke back in 2011 that if Thor and Captain America underperformed, that Avengers would have been retitled as Iron Man and the Avengers. While Birds of Prey is an existing title that had great value to comic fans, it's less of a selling point to general audiences, especially when selling what's primarily a Harley Quinn spin-off movie. I'm guessing the marquee character awareness is why the film had a ridiculous subtitle, but emphasizing Birds of Prey did little for general moviegoers and left fans confused as to A, Harley Quinn is not a card-carrying member, and B, the most famous participant Oracle, Barbara Gordon, formerly Batgirl, was MIA. Oh, formerly, Scott? I thought you meant formerly. Oh well, no one's perfect. I'll give Scott this one, though. Birds of Prey is just a thing people know. I mean, technically, the first definition is a predatory bird distinguished by a hooked bill and sharp talons. A raptor. Birds of Prey is not exactly a household name, and it doesn't scream comic book film. Plus, the trailers look like if Blade Runner had a brother, and that brother had a mentally handicapped child, and that child knew how to use Final Cut Pro. Number 3, it was a loose sequel to Suicide Squad without Batman, Joker, or Will Smith. I don't know to what general extent audiences liked Suicide Squad compared to critics. The bitter aftertaste may have created a Tomb Raider trap, whereby a superior sequel to a mediocre smash hit underperforms because folks didn't like the first one. Moreover, to the extent that Suicide Squad survived its miserable reviews, it thrived thanks to being the first live-action appearance of Harley Quinn, featured glorified cameos from Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker, and features Will Smith in the proverbial lead as Deadshot. Birds of Prey had almost none of those elements, but a similar grunge aesthetic and an R rating to boot. I'll tell you about the divide, Scott. Audiences didn't like it. Yes, people were roped in because of Harley Quinn, but the lack of Batman and Joker weren't enough to turn people away. This film, Birds of Prey, just looked stupid. Number 4, one marquee character, no marquee movie stars. Suicide Squad had a combo of movie stars, Will Smith, Ben Affleck, etc., and marquee characters, Harley Quinn, Batman, and the Joker. Birds of Prey had a singular marquee character, whose popularity may have been overvalued at least among adults. Talent notwithstanding, Margot Robbie and Ewan McGregor are not openers, nor the rest of the game cast, nor the featured DC characters' marquee draws, akin to Offhand, Venom, Deadpool, and Joker. That R rating cost the film casually curious, or I like DC and Marvel movies, general moviegoers because they were kids, couldn't bring their kids, or were worried that an R rating signaled a grisly experience. Another one I'll give Scott. These Birds of Prey characters aren't that popular. Sorry, random writer for a blog that feels representation is the billion-dollar business, not good storytelling. Number 5, online excitement doesn't equal mainstream interest. The relative underperformance of Birds of Prey is another example of audiences not showing up for a thing they claim, or at least the media claims they want from Hollywood. It's possible that we've mistook copious online interest for Birds of Prey and the Harley Quinn character for general audience interest, especially among adults. Usually, I complain about this in regard to non-comic book or non-franchise flicks that played to empty theaters. And sure, you can say that Tomb Raider wasn't that good, or Darkest Mind got lousy reviews, but money is money. If Joker, Green Book, and The Lion King make big bucks while Birds of Prey, Widows, and Tomorrowland don't, that's what will get made at the theatrical level. Another good point by Scott. You know, I used to call this dude the king of the shills, but that Star Wars beating really changed him. Good. I'm glad the media, or at least Scott, has stopped with the narrative of evil fandom. Number 6, Bad Boys for Life stole its thunder. If you're an infrequent moviegoer who only goes to big event movies, there's a good chance you already used your periodic theatrical engagement for Sony's well-reviewed and well-liked Bad Boys for Life. Or 1917, I suppose. And yes, it's ironic that a sequel to a massively successful Will Smith movie, sans Will Smith, got hammered by a sequel to a massively successful Will Smith movie starring Will Smith. The Bat Outta Hell R-rated action sequel vastly overperformed, even optimistic guesstimates, partially because it was much better than expected. The Will Smith-Martin Lawrence action comedy stole much of the buzz from Birds of Prey, both as an R-rated biggie, the post-Christmas event movie, and the first biggie of the year. I guess? I don't really see the crossover here. It's like saying Cats took away $10 million from The Rise of Skywalker's opening weekend. Not every movie is in competition with everything else. I was never gonna see Cats. Number 7, the R rating left kids and parents with kids out in the cold. I feel like Scott already made this point. If there's a single issue to blame, it was the R rating. It's great that Warner Brothers let Kathy Yan and Christina Hodson make the movie they wanted, but commercially speaking, the restricted rating removed a large number of potential moviegoers, specifically young fans of the characters who couldn't get into an R-rated film. Parents felt uncomfortable letting them see what was a pretty violent action comedy, and adults who didn't feel like springing for a babysitter. The film scored a B+ from CinemaScore, but it played better with younger audiences than older ones. Artistic integrity notwithstanding, Birds of Prey didn't need to be R-rated. Heck, the comic book movies aren't for kids demo also overlapped with, ew, cooties crowds. Bad jokes aside, this one scares me because I hope studios don't look at this failure as an indicator for the demand of R-rated comic book films. We know they're viable. Bad films aren't. Birds of Prey is a film that Warner Brothers should just throw under the bus instead of appeasing the online demographic that sings its praises. Treat it as a loss. The accounting department is. Number 8. The R rating made it less unique in the marketplace. The film opened amid a flurry of R-rated movies including Bad Boys for Life, 1917, The Gentleman, and eventually The Invisible Man. A PG-13 Birds of Prey would have stood out from the crowd in terms of what's in theaters. There's one more excuse I've heard, and this one takes the cake. It's not from Scott Mendelson, it's from somewhere else. I'm not going to lead in with you guessing 2 crazy things and then reveal the real one. Not today. How the coronavirus destroyed Margot Robbie's film Birds of Prey as the superhero movie stumbles at the box office despite positive reviews. See? I told you this one would take the cake. Warner Brothers has blamed China's coronavirus for the box office failure of Margot Robbie's latest film, Birds of Prey. The DC Comics movie, which is a sequel to 2016's Suicide Squad, focusing on the character of Harley Quinn, topped the US box office but still fell below projections. With a production budget of $84.5 million, Birds of Prey was expected to open around $50 million, but instead brought in just 33 in American theaters. It was the same story overseas, where Birds of Prey grossed an estimated $48 million from 78 international markets, lifting the total weekend gross to about $81 million. Warner Brothers has said that the coronavirus impacted box office takings in Asia. Birds of Prey doesn't have a Chinese release scheduled, and Suicide Squad never opened there. Cinemas in China, the world's second largest movie market after the United States, have shut down amid the coronavirus outbreak. Meanwhile, Business Insider has suggested the film's R rating may have contributed to the poor box office performance as it excluded young fans of the popular character Harley Quinn. So yes, an infectious disease is why the movie's tanking hard at the box office. Does that mean coronavirus hates women? That'll get it canceled real quick. Hashtag cancel coronavirus, hashtag sickness sucks. As it states in the article itself, Birds of Prey isn't being released in China, nor was Suicide Squad. Long story short, this was a bullshit excuse by Warner Brothers. I think at the end of the day, Birds of Prey's biggest enemy was itself. It's just a film no one wants, and the box office proves that. I'd like to think Warner Brothers was slick enough to realize that, and that's why they went with the feminist marketing. If I'm going down, I'm taking all the misogynists with me, says the film. And look at all the people you took down with you. Wow. So you have to ask yourself, Does Birds of Prey's failure show that there isn't a market for bad films that jump on the guilt train with their marketing, or are there less misogynist trolls and man-babies than Hollywood thought? I think you know the real answer. So folks, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Did you see Birds of Prey? I didn't. I took a nap this weekend. I thought that was far more pressing than seeing Birds of Prey. But if you did, let me know down in the comments below. I've heard it's boring. I've heard it's bad. I heard it's not as woke as some people said. So you know what? I want to hear your take on it down in the comments below. A couple of the guys on the podcast have seen the film, and this Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be covering on World Class Bullshitters episode 206. We'll also be talking about it on the High Council tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on World Class Bullshitters. So if you missed out last week's episode was over on Mecha Random 42's channel, and we had Midnight's Edge After Dark. We also had that Star Wars Girl and Yellow Flash comic. So it was a star-studded event. I was away dealing with my grandma's funeral, but I'll be back on the High Council this week, and I'm very excited to have that. So make sure you guys are there. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to get out of here. I got a lot of work to do, but it's time, folks. Time to go out into the world and be excellent to each other.